Marathon. Today we are going to discuss how to play Mistborn, the deck building game. So this is one of the new hottest deck building games out there, based on the Mistborn trilogy series from Brandon Sanderson, and is designed by John D. Clare. So a lot of big names here. And you are playing as what's called a Mistborn in the game. And so you have your choice between Vin, who's pretty much, I would say, the main character. Kelsier is very much a main character. And Marsh and Shan are also Mistborns. They don't quite, they're not quite as important to the story as well. So we're just going to play as Kelsier here. So in this world, Mistborns and other people can burn metal to enhance their abilities. And if you look at this chart here, it'll just tell you, but for most allomancers in this world can only burn like a single metal. So maybe they can burn bronze, or maybe it's a combination of metal, I can't remember. Maybe they can burn tin to enhance their senses, but that's it. That's all they can do. They ingest these metals in small quantities, and then they teach their bodies to burn off that metal in order to enhance their senses. Zinc riots the emotions of others, so you can rile up a crowd if you wanted to, whereas brass soothes the emotions of others. So if you can burn brass, you're considered a soother in the book. Mistborn, however, can burn all of the metals. They have access to everything and can burn everything, and it's very unique to be a Mistborn, and so they're kind of like the heroes of the story against the evil Lord Ruler. Now, the standard way to play Mistborn is head-to-head against you and anybody else you're sitting around the table with, up to 4 players. To do that, there's 2 ways you can win. You would either reduce the health of all of your opponents to 0, you start at 36, or you make your way up the 3 of these tracks. If you make your way to the top of all 3 tracks, you are instantly the winner. Or if you reduce everyone else to 0 health, obviously you're the winner. In order to understand how to play, we need to discuss the metals, because that is the main thing that powers this deck building game. So here are Kelsier's 4 basic cards. Every character has 4 cards unique to them that are starter cards, as well as 6 funding cards, which just provide you funds to purchase new cards. And all of these cards are multi-use. The main way to use them is to play them, but you also have to then burn a metal to activate them. So in this case, steel would allow me to attack for 2 and gain 1 coin for that particular turn in order to purchase stuff. All right, over here, tin. If I burn tin, I get to move up twice on one of these tracks, or 2 on one track. It doesn't matter. The trick is that you start the game very low in being able to harness your Mistborn powers. So if you look down here on this track, you can see that you can burn +1 metal, or actually just 1 metal. As you move up this training track, however, now you'll be able to burn 2 metals. Now you'll be able to burn 3 metals, and now you'll be able to burn 4 metals on a turn. So at the beginning of the game, you're only going to be activating 1 of these cards, but these cards have a dual use. If you turn a card and play it sideways, you play it for the metal. That's how they carry around their metals in the books, in little vials like this. So if you were to have, and you can see that all of the metals come in pairs. So iron and steel are always paired together. If I had another card that required iron or steel, I could play this card, give up the action on it, but play it in place of one of these tokens. When I say you can only burn 1 metal, that's only 1 metal off of your board here. So say I had another card that used steel, I could turn in this card to use steel, and then tin, and I'm still within my 1 metal for that turn. There is one other way, though, you can get to other metals, and that is to flare. So in the book, flaring your metal means to burn it up real quickly, use it up all at once, but you get this super boost of whatever it is you're flaring. So you could, if you wanted to, say, activate steel and you wanted to activate your copper training, you would have to flare one of them. In order to flare one of them, you have to flip it over. So when it comes back to your board, it's now been expended. I cannot use this copper metal until I have replenished the metal in my body. So on a future turn, similar to how I could play this card as steel or iron, turning it sideways and ignoring everything else on the card. I could play this card as a metal as well. Instead of using it to activate a card, I'm using it to, ingest it into my body and regain my copper. You cannot use it if I had both of these flipped over like this. You can't use it for two, even though there's two symbols on there. You would have to pick one. Say I want my copper back. I'll flip it back over. So that's the three ways you can use these cards. You can use them for their ability, but you have to provide the metal in order to activate them. You can use them as a metal to burn, because you are limited to what you can burn off of your board here. And you could use them as a metal to refresh your board. Everybody with me so far? Good. You'll notice, and I know this might be a little tricky to read since I have sleeved all of my cards here, but you'll notice your player character here has spots at level 1, level 2, and level 3. So as you train, which you train automatically every day, no matter what, you move up at least one spot. But anytime you see this cloak symbol on a card, you get to train an additional time for each cloak symbol. So as you reach these marks on your board, you then have the ability to use what is here. And allies and yourself actually don't get played and then discarded. They also don't need a medal to activate. So let me see if I can find another ally here. Here's one right here. So maybe I have purchased this rebel and he goes into my discard pile. I bring him back up and then I play him. He's actually going to sit out in front of me for as long as he is alive. Other players are going to attack him, obviously. But these guys have a if you are burning activation. So you don't have to burn the zinc on them. But if you burn zinc on another card, or you could just burn zinc off to the side, you would get to activate this. Activate the top ability of one of your allies that hasn't been used this turn. If you have Kelsier and you've burned steel, he gets to attack for 2. Now this could be on another card. Obviously, if you are Kelsier, this kind of gives you some direction as to how you want to build your deck. You're going to want steel and iron in your deck if you are playing as Kelsier. You can also see that as we get all the way up to level 3 here, we see atium come into play. So atium is like the rare metal in this world. It's very hard to find. It's controlled by the Lord Ruler, but it has very special abilities in the book. I'm not going to spoil any of that for you. Atium in the game, however, is represented by these black discs, and they are single-use discs, but they are wild. All right, so an atium in your possession, and you actually will gain atium here and here, and other cards will give you atium if you spend enough metal. If you spend a metal, it's then gone. You don't get to get it back, but you can then activate either something that says it needs atium, or it can be used as any other metal. It's a wild, but it's also atium. Some cards require that wild resource. Last but not least here, let's talk about something like this card. You'll notice that this card here has 2 slots. That means we need to have 2 steel in order to make this card work for both activations. So if I were to burn steel, I can do the top one, and you always have to work top to bottom. Then I could say burn my steel training card to activate the second part on the bottom. But you'll also notice that this card here within the vial is a little 1. So if I choose, instead of activating what's up here, if I choose to use this card as a metal instead of as an action, I get the little action that's inside the vial. Only if I use it to activate another card. If I use it to replenish my board, I do not get it. And obviously if I use the card this way, I do not get it. But those are some of the, obviously better cards that you are going to be purchasing outside of your starting deck. Now that we understand how the cards are used and played, let's talk a little bit more about, what you would do on your turn. So on your turn, you're simply going to decide how you're going to play out your cards. There's no rules and that you have to play certain ones first and then the next ones are played, but there is a hand management aspect to each of your turns where you're deciding how you're using each card, which ones you are able to activate, whether you want to flare metals or not. Either way, you're going to accumulate a certain amount of money to spend and buy market cards. You're also going to accumulate a certain amount of attack. So let's talk about buying the market cards here. Standard deck building stuff here. Anything you buy out of the market is going to go into your discard pile. When you bring it back up, allies, the ones that are turned sideways, are simply going to be played out in front of you and will stay put until someone defeats them. So here, for example, this Rioter, if you're burning zinc, she's going to give you 3 money to purchase a card every turn, as long as, again, you are burning zinc. If you happen to burn a second zinc, you not only get the 3 money, but you also get 2 attack. Here we have the Haze Killers. The Haze Killers have the keyword Defender, which is an ongoing keyword where you must attack the Haze Killers before anyone else. So they're going to cost 4, but then they have a health value of 3. And you have to be able to take them out in one fell swoop. You can't ping them for damage and then take them out on a later turn. So if you have Haze Killers, they're basically a meat shield. They don't do anything else other than protect you from taking damage as Kelsier. The Rioter here, they could simply bypass the damage. If they feel like you getting 3 money every turn is not that big of a deal, they could simply bypass the Rioter, and when they spend their attack you directly. If one of your allies is killed, it simply goes to your discard pile and it will eventually come back up. You'll see that there are certain keywords on here. I'm not going to cover all the keywords, but one of them here is very specific, or not specific, but cards with this brownish border here on the bottom can be played out of turn. And it specifically says here, play off turn to prevent an ally from being eliminated. The attacking is still spent. So basically meaning you're blocking somebody's attack. So these are cards that if you have in your hand and the moment is right, you can play out of turn and use them to block or hide or something like that. Obviously that one's called hide. The symbology is pretty straightforward in the game. Attack looks like 2 red crossed swords. The money appears like this. Health, you can actually heal. You cannot heal allies because, again, allies are either taken out completely all at once or left alone, but you can heal your characters up to your maximum. You can also move up these. You can also move up these quest cards here with this symbol here. This kind of looks like might be a draw 3 card symbol. It's not. This is a move up these cards 3 times. These symbols up here, which we'll take a look at closer here in a second, is actually the draw card symbol. As soon as you buy a card, a new one is revealed. So if you have lots of money to spend, you can simply just keep buying small ones and see what you get. If you have nothing else to buy and you have at least 2 money, you can always buy a boxing. Boxing is the term for money in the novels. And this is a single money. So you spend 2 on your turn, you get 1 money to save for a future turn. And once you spend it, it goes back in the pot like so. So let's talk briefly about our quests here. So depending on who you're playing with, each person will have a cube here, and anytime you come up with a symbol like this, you get to choose. You get to move up 3 spots on any of the tracks. If you are the first person to reach these lines, you get the bonus on the left as well as the bonus on the right. So here, if I'm the first person to get to this line, I not only just to get straight up kill somebody's ally, it doesn't matter what their defense is, but I also get 1 attack that I can spend that turn. All of these are either immediate or have to be spent that turn. So like the money here, this is not gaining a boxing. The only way to gain a boxing is to simply purchase it for 2 money. Also, once you get to the very top of the track, if you are the first person, you get an additional bonus here, as well as there's a permanent bonus that everybody's going to gain who makes it to the top. So if you get to the top of the Luthadel Garrison, you're going to get to attack every turn. If you're at the top here, you get 2 money. If you get the top here, you actually get +1 card draw every time. And this is, again, the card draw symbol, not this. If you make it to the top of all 3 tracks, you have instantly won the game. And there are more than these 3. There's always just only ever 3 out at a time, but you'll shuffle these up and see a mixture of them each game. The only symbol that I don't have out right now is the train symbol, but it simply looks like this cloak. And if you train, you would simply just advance your marker 1 more. And if you advance it onto, say, this 1, you can immediately start using Kelsier's level 1 ability. If you move it here onto a +1 medal mid-turn, you can immediately use an additional medal. Other than that, it's a standard deck builder. There are events where you can quell cards from your hand. That's a certain symbol that I don't see right now, but it's very straightforward. So you can reduce cards out of your hand to make your deck more efficient. Obviously, you'll want to, at some point, get rid of a bunch of these funding cards because they don't do anything for you but then give you a single money. All in all, you're trying to either deplete your opponents to 0 health or get to the top of these quests. There is one rule that comes into play if you are playing with 3 to 4 players. It does not come into play if you're playing head-to-head, because if you're going to attack somebody, obviously you're going to attack your opponent. If you're playing with 3 to 4 players, however, you are going to have this targeting symbol, and you will be the target. The target will start with the last person in line, so the last person going around in clockwise order from the starter person. If you make an attack, you have 2 choices. You can either spend your attack on allies, and you can attack anybody's allies. Or if you want to attack a Mistborn directly, attack their health directly, you have to attack the person with the target symbol. Now, if someone is attacked with the target symbol, they can then choose to pass that symbol on to someone else around the table. But if whoever has the target symbol holds on to it and it comes back around to their turn, after they have chosen to attack any specific allies around the table, all of their remaining attack actually goes towards everybody. Think of King of Tokyo here, where you are you're in the middle of a Tokyo, and so all of your attacks go outwards to everybody. Everybody's attacking you, but you can attack everybody. And this is a deep strategy in this game for it being a multiplayer deck builder, because if you hold on to it, you're going to absorb a lot of attack from other people. But then if you know you're going to have a really big attack turn coming up, you maybe want to save this so you can hit everybody with that same big attack turn. But just keep in mind, or simply, if you took damage, you could simply pass it off to, someone, and know that at least for a turn, you're not going to take damage. So that is the targeting aspect in a 3 to 4 player game. If you would like to play the game cooperatively or solo, you can go up against the Lord Ruler himself. So he's the main antagonist in the novel, and he would have his own separate health dial. He has his own separate deck, and he has this dominance card here this card here with his picture on it is simply to cover up portions of the dominance card. So if you are playing against the Lord Ruler, after every Mistborn turn, you're going to flip over one of these cards, and they're going to be various things. Some of them might be Lord Ruler allies. They are going to sit in front of whoever drew them. So whoever just had the turn draws the card. And so this Inquisitor may be sitting in front of you. And here you can see it says, at the end of your turn, flare a medal. So if this guy continues to sit there in front of you, you are just stuck, exhausting all your medals. Let's look at another one here. Here's an important one. These are not allies. These are one-off cards, but you're going to read them from top to bottom. And looking at the top one here, we say increase dominance. Now, this is one of my few gripes about the game, is that increased dominance is an up arrow, but you're actually going to drag the Lord Ruler down. But what this is going to do is going to expose something that's going to happen to the group. Here it says each player flares a metal and takes 3 damage. Also, at certain points, it's going to increase the X value. So, a lot of cards will say attack for X, and X is going to increase as the game goes along as the Lord Ruler's dominance increases. So here it says kill all your allies. This is a brutal card because all your allies will immediately go to your discard pile. All of these edicts are then going to heal the Lord Ruler 10 for each uncompleted mission. So it's actually important that you complete these missions because it becomes very, very difficult to defeat the Lord Ruler if you haven't completed your missions. Now, maybe you can complete 2 and then hit the Lord Ruler fast enough before an edict comes out, but most likely you're actually going to have to get to the top of the 3 missions. That does not trigger the end game condition in cooperative and solo games. It simply means that the Lord Ruler can no longer heal himself. Last but not least, edict cards are going to give you, this is the market row essentially, starting from the draw pile. This is telling you to discard the 2 rightmost cards. Let's take a look at another card here. Here we are, again, increasing dominance, and now it says take X damage. So the person who drew it would take, in this case, 2 damage, and then choose another player to take X damage. So if you were playing 3-player cooperative, you could choose, somebody else. But again, the Lord Ruler is going to heal, and he's going to discard 2 cards. That's it. It's very simple. But unlike other allies that would be on your side who simply have a single health value and they need to be taken out all at once and then they're done, some of the Lord Ruler's allies have multiple points of health. So you can see here this Inquisitor has 2 health, and X. In this case, it's 2. If it's later on in the game, maybe it's 3. You can attack each one of these shields individually. So if you have enough to take out the 2 shield, you would simply take one of these black cubes and cover it up. Then in a later turn, you can take out the other 2 shields, or maybe one at a time. So you can slowly tick away at the Lord Ruler's allies, but only a shield at a time. You cannot, for example, this guy, you cannot hit him for 2 and then come back and hit him for the 3rd another time. To take this guy out, you need to do 3 damage all in one fell swoop and push him to the side. If the Lord Ruler makes it through his deck here, you have run out of time and he wins. If the Lord Ruler reduces you to 0 health, you are defeated. For you need to basically get to the top of all 3 missions, at least 2 of them in my opinion, and then reduce the Lord Ruler to 0 health. There is a single card in this game that can be used in both multiplayer and solo cooperative that is this picture. It is actually the Lord Ruler. It's a very expensive card that you have to purchase and then have a ton of ATM essentially in your possession to play on your turn. If you are able to accomplish this, it's an instant win for you as the player, no matter what mode you're playing in. I've yet to see that happen. Again, it's a very expensive card to buy, and then it doesn't do much for you in your hand, and you're just hoping to build up enough ATM to then play it at the right time with all this ATM and claim the victory. But that's again a John D. Clare kind of thing that he puts into his games, like that single card. There's only one of them. It's not like everybody can purchase a Lord Ruler card and win the game instantly like that. But otherwise, I believe we have covered most of the rules. Again, there's some symbology here or there that I might not have picked up on, but it's pretty straightforward once you learn it. It's easy breezy. I'm really enjoying this one so far, because it is, again, that hand management aspect of you don't get to play every single card out of your hand every turn. Sometimes you're just going to have a card that you're just simply going to discard and won't be able to play. And how do you risk flaring most of your metals to play those cards early on and then not being able to have them? And so it just makes that a deeper strategy aspect of the game. But also, this isn't too difficult of a game. I certainly wouldn't want to throw this at someone who'd never played a deck builder before, but I also feel like you don't need to be a hardcore heavy strategy gamer in order to enjoy this game. And certainly if you enjoyed the novels, then this one would definitely be right up your alley. I've never played any of the other Mistborn games. There are a few out there. And so for me personally, I've never seen any of these characters visualized except for what was in my head. A couple of them were, the art style here is very different than what I would have imagined. But, you know, like I would not have imagined Kelsier to look like this. Now, Vin, I expected to look like this, but she's also on the cover of many of the books. So anyways, it's just exciting for me as a fan of the books to play through these stories because I personally feel it's very thematic with the whole burning and flaring of the metal. So highly recommend this one. Again, this was a Barnes & Noble exclusive. I believe now, though, it is hitting larger retail stores, so it should be more easily available to find. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day.